Siemens extend Nigerian power infrastructure project completion to 2030. Indeed, quite a long time there for us to get that project completed. Welcome to Business Daily. I am Yusuf Akogu. We take our business top stories. Glad to have you back. Quickly, we give you highlights of stock market data as it went down yesterday on the floor of the Nigerian stock market. The market closed positive. The all-share index there 0.21%. It ended in terms of volume of trade 334.333 million, and of course value at 3.891 billion in the deals of over 6,000, nearly 7,000, indeed 6,940. We look at the gainers quickly on the gainers table. We have the like of Enamel, of course, closing positive there, 9.86%. Of course, the share price 19 naira 50 kobo. Wema Bank also on the gainers table today, closing gaining 9.77% to close at 4 naira 72 kobo. Of course, UPL also gaining 9.73% to close at 2 naira 48 kobo. We look at the losers on the day. Indeed, Omatech on the losing side, 8.82%. It lost 31 kobo. It closed on the day. Prestige Assurance also there, 7.84 of it lost there on the day as well to close at 47 kobo. Of course, Mark Nichols from the manufacturing sector also closed at 7.35% there to close at 63 kobo on the day as well. We look at the top traded equities, all of them in the banking sector, Tier 2 bank mostly, Sterling Bank, FCMB Group, and of course Fidelity Bank, doing 55.1 million volume of shares, 28.2, and of course 18.8 million shares respectively. Quickly look at the sector in terms of performance. Of course, the banking sector 0.81%. Of course, that is reflected in the performance of the banking sector as well. We see them dominating the activity chart, even though we have a low trade on Monday. It's 0.81%. And of course, the industrial sector down there 0.01%. The consumer goods sector down 0.05%. While the oil and gas sector 0.12% it gained. And of course, the biggest loser for the day, the insurance sector 1.16%. The rest of Africa are also not doing so bad. Indeed, GSC in South Africa 0.07%. That market will be on break tomorrow because of the public holiday in South Africa. NSE in Nairobi, Kenya is down 0.50%, and of course in Ghana, next door neighbor here, 0.39% negative. It closed on the day. Indeed, so the highlights of the market across Africa for Monday. Of course, as usual, stay right here. We'll keep you up to date with all the development across markets in the African continent. Now we take a very quick break. When we return, we'll go into our discussion. Don't go away. glad to have you back. It's still Business Daily right here on Trust Television. Now we're going into our discussion proper. We'll start with the Siemens story. Of course, they have extended their completion of Nigeria Power Infrastructure Project to 2030. Quite a whole lot of issues there surrounding the Siemens project. And of course, we'll also look at the electricity subsidy. The federal government said it paid 36 billion naira in 3 months. That is the first 3 months of the year. And I have joining me in the studio Engineer Atiku Tambawa, is the former acting MD of TCN, Transmission Company of Nigeria, and of course the board director of AEDC. Glad to have you on Business Daily this morning.
Good morning, viewers.
Yes, glad. Perhaps let's start with the Siemens story. Quite a whole lot of development in that sector. No, so much progress has not really been made in that deal.
Yeah, well, we have just heard that story. I think yesterday also. It's quite surprising. Because we all expected that by the end of this year, significant progress will be recorded, particularly for the first phase of that project, which seek to make 11,000 megawatts capacity available to Nigerians. Unfortunately, we woke up with this story. Well, what I have to say is that probably the program encountered delays. I remember 2019 also, COVID came in. Some of the principal actors in the deal were actually caught in the
in the web.
So that could be one of the reasons that might cause the delay. And secondly, I think even the implementation was not well programmed, in the sense that when the deal was signed in 2018 between the two governments, between our president and that of Germany, the implementation of the program did not harmonize everybody in the sector, from generation, transmission, and distribution. Some of those entities claim that they were not carried along. So there are a lot of hitches and uncoordination from that. So that could also be another setback. And secondly, the government itself has set up Nigerian Power Company. That one took over 2 years, if I can recall, even to set it up and for it to coordinate this activity. So that is also another reason.
Exactly. You know, Siemens is the company behind the PPI, the Presidential Power Initiative plan, and they were meant to complete this project by 2025. So you have explained some setbacks that they may have encountered, and that will require them to need extra 5 years. That is huge.
Yeah, it's quite huge. That's why I said it's really not, well, one cannot comprehend that extension, but most of the issues, like I enumerated earlier, are reasons which they will advocate. I also know that there is this issue of 50% local content in which Nigeria has to provide, and I don't think we are well prepared to even provide the 50% local content. So that issue came up. Local contractors who are required to install this equipment when delivered, they have not been sorted out. There are a lot of issues there, even to possibly procure them and get them well prepared for this installation. This is still lingering. So these are some of the issues which I think...
Engineer, you're an engineer yourself, and you have worked in the power sector for a very long time, and you know this sector very, very well. Do we really need foreign investors? Don't you think it's a problem we have in the power sector can actually be solved locally?
It can be solved locally, because I can assure you, former NEPA, PHC and staff are capable. They have been solving some of the issues, local problems that we have peculiar to Nigeria. But when it comes to expansion and reintroduction of equipment which are new, world-class, we need investors to come in with their expertise and with the equipment. Remember, we cannot produce 100% transformers in Nigeria.
Absolutely.
We can only assemble. So we need that. If you look at the case of Egypt.
Why not get companies that produce transformers to come to Nigeria here and produce?
That's what they are presently doing. I know Naseni has already established that transformer factory, and it will soon come into full production. We have some of them who have started. El Swedi in Egypt, I know they had a plant, a assembly in Lagos, but it crashed because of low patronage, even from government itself. So there's need for local participation in that respect.
Okay, but in any case, the Siemens project was even meant to add 2,000 megawatt to electricity when the project is completed. But looking at
not 2,000. When the project is fully completed by third phase, we should have 25,000 megawatts.
So the second phase, 20,000.
Yes, the second phase we are targeting 11,000 megawatts, which should have been completed by 2025. Okay. But we are in 2023. I can say not a single megawatt has been added, but that the equipment have started arriving, particularly in the transmission.
Okay, but the quick physics, but that Siemens did promise is 2,000
okay,
2,000 megawatts
yes,
in terms of quick physics,
exactly.
But not with total completion.
Exactly.
I think that is where we're missing the point. Now, let me get your final take on this now. To 2030, I mean, is it a product of I don't know how to describe it now. To me, it's a very long time, given the challenges that we are facing in our electricity sector, as the case may be right now.
Yes. Also, I think it is quite a long time. We can't wait for things to improve before 2030. So I believe
7 years from now.
7 years from now, we should look inward. We shouldn't rely 100% on Siemens project to achieve that. We should look at other options, other opportunities, and they exist, so that we can boost our power supply before then.
Indeed. Now let's look at the federal government, the issue of electricity subsidy. The federal government said it has paid a total of over 36 billion. If my director can actually bring that graphics on the screen, we can actually see that about 359 billion naira. That is the total bill to customers, and the amount that has been collected so far is 247 billion. If you look at the breakdown there, Abuja Disco paid 20 billion from 32 billion, which means they have an extra 12.8 billion that has not been paid. The Benin Disco there paid 14.4 billion. That is from 17 billion. Over 3-point-something billion is actually waiting there. Lagos Disco as well paid Eco Disco paid about 19.4 billion there from 24 billion, over 2-point-something billion also there. Same with Ibado Disco. So let me get your reaction to some of these debts that are being owed by Disco. What is the implication on other like the transmission and of course the distribution companies? Okay,
thank you. I think before I start analyzing that, I need to mention that there are two reasons why we have these shortfalls. The first one is the fact that the tariff which we are now enjoying is not cost reflective. It's not cost reflective in the sense that when you look at the production of electricity from generation to transmission and distribution, there are costs involved. For example, in generation, you need to procure the gas. It's not coming for free. It's only in hydros that you get some level of free water, but they also need ponds for their operations. So when you look at 1 kilowatt hour, which is a unit energy, you look at the cost of how it is produced and the cost of how it goes through transmission to you and me in our homes. You find out that it will cost certain amount. Let's just say, for example, it cost 80 naira. And then the distribution companies in their tariff, they were asked to charge only 70 naira. So this 30 naira difference is tariff shortfall. One of the reasons why they cannot pay up 100% of the invoice. And so government, in its subsidy program, has to pay that in order for MBET, which is responsible for paying back generators and all service providers, should have the money to pay everybody. So the second aspect why there is this shortfall is inefficiency on the part of the distribution companies. The billing efficiencies is very low. So how do we improve it? The principal component of that is metering. You have to meter 100% all your customers so that they get charge of what they consume actually, so that you can collect it 100%. But in most cases, you collect very, very low. Sometimes you lose up to 45% of your revenue.
You are a director of the board at AEDC, and your DISCO is actually having a huge deficit of over 12 billion. Over 12 billion, 12.8 billion naira, given the statistic that we have from NEC here. So now let's look at it. Let's tell us the workings of this of the system. Why we're having this kind of huge or humongous deficit.
Well, I've already started mentioning one of the reasons is this tariff shortfall, which of course government is supposed to provide in form of subsidy. And the second one is the market inefficiency. If you are build, for example, Abuja, you build 30 billion, and you are only able to collect 24 billion or 22. So this shortfall is there also, which is from the inefficiency of the system. So it's the duty of the responsibility of the distribution company to make sure that it collects 100% of what it builds. There are a lot of issues there.
No, the deficit now has become a burden to the federal government.
No, really, it's still responsibility of the distribution company to pay back. It is.
Or is it a burden on Nigerians?
Not at all. It is the responsibility of the distribution company, like I said, but that burden of the government is the tariff shortfall that I mentioned earlier, the 36 billion you are talking about.
Absolutely.
So government is to pay that from taxpayers. But as far as other shortfalls is concerned, it's still in the books of the distribution company. If you look at Kaduna Electricity Distribution Company, for example, they are now under 1 month, what do you call it, notice that the license is going to be revoked because of the apparent inefficiency in their collection. So that is almost in all distribution companies. So they have to
talking about inefficiency of collection. It's not only Kaduna alone. If we can have that graphics back on TV again. Okay, Jos is doing better. Kaduna, for example, collected 1.8 billion instead of about 15.3 billion. That is a Kaduna DISCO there. The difference is huge. If you go to Kano, of course, it's not so much different. 6.1 billion instead of 15 billion. That is another huge deficit. If you go to Port Harcourt, 8.5 billion collected instead of 14.5 billion that were billed. And Yola DISCO, 889 million from 1 billion it was billed, which I think this Yola DISCO is doing relatively well compared to the rest of the DISCOs. So what factors, what modalities are they implementing that other DISCO can emulate?
Well, you know, each DISCO has its own management, has its own board, and has its own strategies on how to improve. When you look at the 11 distribution companies, it's only Ikeja, Eko, and Abuja that are a little bit efficient. And that is why even at the present time, they have now entered into a contract regime. They no longer go through MBET. They deal direct with the generation companies. They procure the power and they have to pay it 100%. There is no excuse for those three companies. They started with the three companies as a pilot study, and very soon all the distribution companies will follow suit. So those distribution companies, like I said, has to devise strategies to double up so that they can bridge that gap in terms of collection, efficiency, and billing.
Okay, so Alhaji, maybe let's leave the bill and the collection aside and actually look at the Nigeria power cuts to Niger. Niger is our neighbor. You have been following the news that there was coup, and of course the military has taken over in that country, and as part of a way to sanction them, Nigeria has cut power supply to Niger. What is the economic implication of this on your sector?
There is a lot of implication, because when you look at the quantum of energy or electricity is given to them, it's on the average of 120 megawatts. And that 120,
and they pay for it?
They pay for it 100%. And of course, they pay in foreign currency. Now that it is stopped, it is going to tell on the collection and the performance of the power sector. That 120 megawatts, since it is being utilized in Nigeria, it is going to be very difficult to realize payment for up to 40 megawatts out of it. So you can see we are going to lose economically.
And in your sector now, what advice would you have for a government that has taken this decision to cut that power sector? Because we, as a country right now, we need revenue from different places, given our current economic position.
Yeah, my candid advice is that this issue should be looked into with a view to reversing the power cut. Remember, there is a bilateral agreement even before the advent of ECOWAS. This is irrespective of ECOWAS. Nigeria and Niger, through Nigerian Dam, Niger Dam Authority, came together and agreed that we should give them power in exchange of them not damming. They already have Kandaji Dam in place, but they refused to generate. They were sending them electricity instead in return. So I think it is not in the best interest of the two countries to renege on this agreement. It could have been, a restraint should have been exercised, since this is not part of ECOWAS deal. It is between the two countries. It should have been even the last resort, just like war, unless it becomes absolutely necessary. And
the two countries have been, friends for a very, very long time. So this is coming at a time that one will not really expect. Now, you said they have an option of having a dam and even generating their own electricity by themselves. In the event that Nigeria maintain this same position, what do you think we stand to lose? Well,
it's obvious, because if that their dam has become operational, it means they will cut off the flow of water down to Kainji and Jeba, and then they will be generating 0 megawatt. So you can see the implication is much.
So without the water coming from Niger, Kainji dam is
Kainji and Jeba
will be not. Kainji and Jeba will not be operational.
Shiroro is slightly different. We'll have Shiroro and Obrescent. The new one, Zongeru. So those one may not be affected seriously, because their source of water is coming from Kaduna River and other places.
Okay. Yeah. So how much of dependence are we on Niger in terms of generating our power supply?
We don't have any dependency apart from that water flow of the River Niger. That's all.
And the water flow is key?
It's key for the hydros in Jeba and Kainji to generate.
And these are the two main hydropower plants that we have
for now, yes,
in Nigeria right now.
Now, yeah, because they contribute more than 60% of the hydro production.
Okay. What option do we have? Some people are actually saying that we can actually generate more from solar. I saw a report from some Gencos that over 427,000 megawatts can actually be generated from solar. Is it like an option for us in the event that the Niger decided to go ahead and open their own dam?
Well, to me, I saw that report is over-ambitious. 420,000 megawatts, maybe the whole world.
Absolutely.
If you aggregate it, that we don't have that much power from solar. So I think certain reasonable quantity can be generated within the shortest possible time if we are serious. Renewable energy, the solar, is quick to establish. Within 6 months to 1 year, you can establish no matter how many megawatts we want. So it's an option which we can quickly look into in the event we have a shortfall from the hydros.
Okay, Engineer Atiku Tambowa, former acting MD, Transmission Company of Nigeria, and of course, Director, Board of Abuja Electricity Distribution Company, AEDC. I must thank you for your time on Business Daily. We appreciate your contribution.
You're welcome.
Yes, and with that, it's a wrap on the show today. Join us tomorrow for more. I am Yusuf Akubu.